want to talk about fentanyl, the fentanyl crisis, the FBI agent trained first responders and everything. Welcome to Rock and Recovery. I'm your host, Jay. Today is special guest. I met her on Instagram, Wendy Beck, founder of Rage Against Addiction. Go ahead, Wendy. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Thanks for having me. You're my first, well, you're actually my second podcast. I co-host for a local podcast but this is the second time I've been asked outside of that. So thank you. Wow. I appreciate it. I am the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization called Rage Against Addiction. Rage Against Addiction is a nonprofit that provides awareness and support to anyone that struggles with drug and or alcohol abuse, including the families. And the reason that I founded this organization was because back in, I'm going to say like 2013, if that's correct, 2013, 14, my teenage daughter was struggling with a heroin addiction. So at the time, she was about 15 years old. I had no idea what to do for her. This was something that just happened in our family, came out of nowhere for me, and I guess for her as well. I suspect that it started, as any teenager, just experimenting with, marijuana and or alcohol, and it progressed very quickly. She was she was probably an instant addict. So not really understanding what was happening, I was chasing her, I was enabling her, I was trying to, save her, all of those things. And in the process, as I was going through this with her, I was seeing what was not serving her, what was not around. There was not that many resources at the time. So this was a while ago. This was before right on the cusp of the big opioid epidemic, which it's always been an epidemic, but this is when it started showing up in the suburbs. And so then people were paying attention. There were the signs in the county, like giving, the numbers daily that were going up of these people that were dying. And she was young. And at the time, I really did not know what was happening. I just knew that she had changed. She was, not herself. She was not this wonderful, smart, pleasant person that I had always known and loved. So as she started to change, I started to try to chase her and figure out what was happening to our family, because we had, disappearing acts, we had things missing, we had change of friends, we all the stuff. And as you can imagine, when I finally did figure out what was going on, because, she's not going to reveal that to me. I was a single mom for a long time, so I was very close to her. So this was devastating. This was something that I just had never imagined what would have happened. So, during her journey, I like to say that we didn't have prom and graduation. We had drug court and central booking. So we had a very different, teenage mother-daughter relationship. It was hard. It was really hard. And during that journey, I was angry. I was very angry. And that's where I kind of came up with Rage Against Addiction, because I don't know, it didn't have anything to do with the group Rage Against the Machine or anything like that. I wasn't even a fan of that. It just kind of came to me one day that I was angry, and I wanted to do something and help provide better resources than what was available to her at the time. Now, I know that people can recover in all different kinds of circumstances. I mean, she could have done things a lot differently than she did, but we never really got to a place of sustainable recovery. or she never got to a place of sustainable recovery, and she did pass away in 2015. So she will be gone 10 years on Christmas Day this year. So
Wow.
it's been a long journey, but alongside of her, I was learning a lot about addiction that I did not know. I had no idea. I knew what addiction was. I was an adult. I knew what it was, but I had never experienced it to this level. And I think that my main goal for her, while she was still here, was to try to help with some better resources for her when she went to she did go to rehab several times. She did go to sober living, which was, in my mind, unacceptable, because it just felt like this just cannot be the best that there is out there for women or anyone recovering. I just felt like it was, not structured. It was basically just a bed, and she was very, I guess, easy to get around all the rules that they had.
Very easy, manipulative, like
Yeah,
most addicts are, like I was myself.
right.
We can easily play the system.
Yes, and she did. And as she's going through her addiction, I was learning along the way. And I was the family. And so I decided to start the nonprofit organization, which I had mentioned, Rage Against Addiction. Not really sure what the mission was going to be. It was very general. But one of the things that I wanted to do was to have better sober living for women, because I felt like that was needed. And at the time, even in our county, there was not very many options. We had our higher level, like level 3, which was very structured. And then you had your, level 1, which was, really loosey-goosey kind of thing, where there wasn't many rules, but, so over some time, I started the organization and, just got the paperwork together for the nonprofit, tried to figure out what I wanted to do. And then a friend of mine introduced me to a woman who was in early recovery. And so we became friends, and she was helping with a sober living house in our area that was more of like a farm type of thing, where the women would work on the farm. And she was all on board with me in opening a sober living for women. And she said, as soon as you're ready to do it, I will move over with you, and we will do this together, which was good because I wasn't in recovery. So for me, and I'm a firm believer.
It would have been very easy to be a sober house, not in recovery, I would think.
Say that again.
Somebody that's like for you yourself, not being an addict or not being in recovery and just seeing the effects, I think that would be an easy transition or an easier to manage place than a lot of people that are addicts, because.
Well, she was in recovery, and she was, so I felt like we were a good team because I was able to set up the organization and create the business. And then she had a very strong, understanding of what the women were going through when she was in recovery herself. So it worked out really well. So as of right now, we've been, we started our first sober living house in 2018. And then right now we have 2. We did have 3, but we just closed one recently just because we didn't renew the lease at that location. It was small, but we have 2 sober living houses for women in our county, and they are run beautifully. And she is still the program director. So we're really proud of the accomplishments that we've come to. I can tell you about the program if you want, or if you have any other questions about, the beginning of that, I'd be happy to go more into detail.
So what county is that? What state and county?
We're in Harford County, Maryland.
Maryland.
Yes.
Okay, so we're on the same time zone. That's awesome.
Yes.
I mean, I've connected people from. I had another lady on, Danielle Galvis, I think is her name. It's from Kingdom Rehab. She was in the Dallas area, and she opened 2 sober livings for women. One would allow the pets, and one wouldn't. It's just. But I think that's spectacular. I've been thinking about doing the same thing myself. It's just weird.
it's a lot of work, and but I think it's really rewarding. And over the years, getting to know these women, because I lost my daughter and she never got to that place of recovery, I feel like this venture, so to speak, has been a healing process for me as well, because I needed to be able to see that this was possible, and being able to help and learning that recovery is possible. It kind of started to heal my heart, because it was a very trying time with her. And my goal, or my hopes, was that she would find recovery and she would join in and she would want to help and all of these types of things, but we just never got there. But before she passed, I would tell her, hey, we're doing this, we're having this event, and she was as supportive as she could be, and she would say, like, Mom, you're really doing it. And I knew that she was proud of the work that I was doing. And I know that in some way, it's because of her that all of these women are in sobriety today.
So, what was the hardest part of being a mother and not being able to help their daughter overcome that addiction? I know my mom's sitting in the chat room listening to us too, and I know what her struggles were with me. So, what were some of the struggles with
um,
the same thing?
I guess just understanding what she was going through. You just have that immediate thing, like, just stop. Here, I'm going to tell you what to do, or these are the steps that you take, and and you can get better, and you can move on with your life, and you can have a healthy future. And I feel like just never seeing her get to that place was the hardest thing for me, because I'm a doer. Like, I'm a person that's like, oh, we're going to fix this. What do we need to do? A, B,
Sounds
C,
like my
D.
mom.
Yeah, exactly. And I had this person that was like this tornado around me, me chasing her, me enabling her, me trying to protect her. And there wasn't anything that I could do. I knew, and I know now, just from interacting with the women that I interact with, learned a lot, that it really had to be up to her. And unfortunately, the circumstances did not allow that. So I just not having control was, she was 14, 15, 16, 17. She
Oh,
died
yeah. Yeah.
when she was 24. So we
Wow.
had like a 9-10 year run. So from the time she was able to, be a teenager and start to gain this independence and become the woman that she was supposed to be, she was immediately trapped in this addiction, and she never got there. So that was really hard for me, to never really see her grow into the person that she was meant to be, because she was really awesome. We went through a ton of terrible stuff, but she ultimately, was a person that was loved, that was caring, was loved by many, many people.
And I agree with Kelly Walker in the chats. Wendy, you're going to be a true blessing to all the women you help. I promise you. And
Oh,
it is. You might not be recovering from addiction, but you're recovering from that trauma that you have a heart. You have a heart, and it's hard. What are some of the misconceptions about people wanting to be in recovery?
I guess maybe that is easy, because it's not. I mean, it gets easier, and I've seen people come into the sober living houses. We have women now who have been there for a year or over. We kind of really hope that our program will span a year with them, because it takes that long to kind of get your whole life back. I always say the first 30 days are probably the hardest. You come in, they're scared, they have anxiety, they have depression, they've haven't lived like this in a very long time, if forever. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm talking to you, but it's really true. So having that initial 30 days, we call it like the blackout period. They come in to sit with themselves, visualize their life for the first time in a really long time, and learning how to network is a lot. And they don't really know if they're up for the challenge. I mean, we know that they can be, if they put the work in and they do the suggestions that are made to them, because I believe that recovery is an evidence-based program that we provide. And once they get, through the first 30 days and then they get a job and they have a sponsor and they're going to their meetings and real life starts happening. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that they don't have days that are, tough. I guess it's hard and it's scary.
How can the average person help the recovering person, and just the person that's in recovery? How can we help them, and what is the conversation starter about it?
Oof. The conversation starter to help someone?
Yeah, as somebody that's in recovery and they're in recovery, how do you go about just approaching the subject? Because I know sometimes you get that misconception that they're just waiting until the next time they go out and use, and there's a lot of people out there that think lower of us recovering addicts in general.
Well, treat them like they're a human being, as like they are. I walk in to the houses, and even if there's someone there that's been there, one day or a year, and I know them, I know that they are good people that, are struggling with hard stuff. And I think when we put that empathy in there, even though I hadn't experienced it myself, I saw it, and you have to be kind. I know I said I was, angry, and I was, but that did not serve me well. And I feel like if I could go back, and I don't want to cry, I would have been kinder to her because I didn't understand. And I wish I could go back and be kind instead of being angry. See, sorry about that.
She knows you're not angry anymore.
Right.
She does. Like I was saying earlier, I lost my wife to addiction and depression.
Right.
And there's a lot of guilt that I hold and a lot of shame that I still work through on that, but she knows it's okay.
I know.
We cry to heal. That's what it is. We cry to heal. It's okay. There's no shame in it.
Right. And even 10 years out, it's hard, and it doesn't go away. So I feel like just kind of putting a purpose to your pain, anybody who's going through anything like what you're doing, it just kind of it makes you feel like it wasn't all for nothing.
Just know that her addiction wasn't your fault.
Yes. And she told me that. We did have some real conversations. We were close even when we were far apart, and so, she did say to me, Mom, this is not your fault. She knew. She knew. And I knew.
Good. I'm glad, that you're doing what you're doing right now with Rage Against Addiction. And what's the sober living homes that you have opened in Maryland?
We have two. Well, like I said, we had three, but we have two now. One is called Daughter's House, and the other is Sister House. We had the Cottage as well. The Cottage was a maintenance house, which was one of the first maintenance houses in the county, so we're really proud of that. But now, since we had to close the third house, we now commingle the abstinence and the maintenance women. And at first, I think we just wanted to kind of get our feet wet to just see, how it was a little bit different. But now we're realizing that they help each other within the house. So I feel like it's a good mix.
So I noticed the two different names, the Daughters and the Sisters House, and the maintenance, and what was the other one?
The maintenance house was the Cottage.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the difference between the houses?
Really nothing. The program was the same for all, except the Cottage was maintenance.
Okay.
So that was Matt. You're familiar with that, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So they were on Suboxone, methadone. Yeah. Yes, that type of thing. So we didn't want to commingle them at first, just because it was different. They're on medication, so we wanted to make sure that we could, get that under control. And it wasn't that hard. And then when we closed the Cottage, we just kind of commingle maintenance and abstinence in each of the houses.
And you find that works? The abstinence-based people aren't tempted to go medically assisted?
Nope, we have not had anybody. If anything, we have them wanting to taper down because they see the success of the other women.
I think sometimes the actual medically assisted ones, the come down is a whole lot harder. The withdrawals are a whole lot harder also on medically assisted compared to the actual drug that they were on.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. And when we get them, they've already been through rehab, they've already gone
Okay.
through detox, that type of stuff. So they're coming in from a number of different places. Like I said, rehab, sometimes jail, sometimes detox facility, and sometimes from being homeless. They will be on medication and they are monitored by a facility, like an outpatient type of facility. So we don't do any of that in-house other than just being the support that they need, our program director, and we have a peer who comes in and can help them. I truly feel that people that are on maintenance, they need a little extra love because they've, you know, have a little more that they have to like earn back. And I don't mean earn in types in the wrong way.
Right.
Get back. Like sometimes they don't have their driver's license, and that stands true for anybody, honestly, that's coming out of an active addiction situation.
Shit, it wasn't just long ago. I think it was last year. I just got my driver's license back after, I don't know, driving without it for 20 plus years. And that was a big accomplishment for me. I'm like,
Right.
driver's license, that was huge. That was like showing that I accomplished something again,
Yeah, and that's
and
what we like to do, especially like in that first, 1 to 3 months, because some of them don't have a social security card. They lost it, they don't have it, it's left somewhere. Driver's license, birth certificate, and as you know, and you can imagine, you really can't get a job without those things.
you
So
can't.
no, and so that's where I
So,
feel like sober living is an asset. People come their next steps after treatment or incarceration. Um, we're providing them with a lot of resources that they might not have if they were just go back home.
so do you help them also with finding employment? Because I know there's a lot of employers out there, especially if you got been convicted of a felony, or even most addicts have been convicted of something. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to say most, not 100%, but a lot of us have. Do you work with the employers to help them find employment, or life skills coaches, or
Thankfully, in our area, they don't typically have a hard time finding a job. Some women have harder time than others based on their employment history, or like you said, if there's criminal charges that they are dealing with. But I noticed that they haven't really had a tough time in our area finding a job. No, they can work anywhere in fast food, retail, that type of thing with ease. Pretty much, there's a lot of companies that will hire people in recovery, and there's also people that will hire people that have a record. And I know that there's a list that you can look up online that are recovery friendly or felony friendly employment. So I would say there are some women that come in that it has taken them a while to find employment, but they can't really live there forever for free. So it's kind of up to them to put the work into it. And we also have other women in the houses that will recommend places that they've applied. And we kind of have a group chat so people kind of know, hey, if we see something that someone's hiring, we'll let them know. There are resources available, but I will say in our area, it's they're pretty lucky with finding employment.
so what's the difference between your houses and other recovery homes, and what services do you offer?
Well, we're a level 2, and level 2 is monitored by our program director, and we have a house manager that lives there. So the house manager lives there for free. To be, I guess, they're unpaid staff, but they're living there for free, so they don't have to pay rent. So I love that, because then they can save their money to move on to the next phase of their life. We have a lot of independence, I believe. So they come in, they go through the blackout period. Our program requires them to do 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days, find a sponsor, find a home group. They have chores every day. They have a curfew. We're really just reteaching them how to live with some structure, with the independence once they have a job, once they are complying with all of the rules. And of course, they're drug screened. They can pretty much go out and work and visit their families. And we give them enough freedom to do what they need to do. We haven't really, there's going to be times where people are a little more difficult or having a little bit more time, getting the hang of it. And, we have some disciplinary, actions, like you might get fined if you're not doing your chore. You might go on contract if you're really not cooperating, or you may be asked to leave. But I think overall the program is designed to teach them how to live, because I noticed that there are some houses that are level 3, which is the higher level structure, where they don't really have any independence. So when they leave, it's almost like you're kind of leaving this protected environment, and now you're having to learn how to live. Well, we're kind of like, okay, go out and, here you go, learn how to fly from the nest. And I think we're very good at that.
And what are some of the resources that you offer?
Well, we have clothing donations. We have a peer that is staff that will work with them to get all of their license, take them to job interviews, drive them to get food or groceries if they need to. So, and then we outsource to we ask them to go to therapy if they need to, or IOP, which is an outpatient treatment type of situation. So in-house services, I would say, is the guidance of the recovery coach, program director, and the peer.
So how hard is it for the newcomer to adjust to your programs?
I guess it all depends on the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the best things that you found working in the sober living homes area that you've been able to apply towards everyday life?
For myself?
Yeah.
Gratitude. I've never seen people who have so much gratitude for life ever. And it's so rewarding to see somebody, go through such a hard thing and come out the other side and be so grateful for what they have. It makes me, who's not in recovery, like reevaluate myself. What do I have to be ungrateful for?
Ungrateful for.
Or grateful for, sorry.
I was going to say, I'm not really ungrateful for anything anymore,
Right.
But along those lines, there's a big, I won't say, how much of a success rate do you have long term?
We have a growing alumni. So we're in touch with a lot of the women who have left. The alumni will also come back and do house meetings. We have them come once a month. It's a rotating group of women that have gone through the houses. They come back and they help with fundraisers. They give back when they can. We ask for, donations of like Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner or cookies or clothing or anything that we need. We have a very strong alumni that will also come through and help out the women. We have one alumni, was the third woman that came through our house, that is now on my board of directors. So, it's really up to the person how involved that they want to be, but we have success in staying in touch with the people who you kind of get to a part of sustainable recovery.
And how are you giving back to, I know just having a sober living is giving back to the community, but how that account or that giving back, how is the people there giving back, like to the community, volunteering?
You mean the women that live in the houses?
Yeah.
Or I guess the ones who have moved on, like I said, will come back. They will, do house meetings with us. They share. They still do offer like rides or anything like that. The women in the houses also, once they get to some sustainable recovery and they move on, will become sponsors of some of our women. They offer rides. So it's a very close community that they share, take people to meetings, that type of thing.
So in the selection process, is there a selection process, and what's the application process?
It's a phone screening. So if someone is in treatment, let's say their caseworker will give us a call. Usually they'll call our program director and say, we have whoever, and she'll do a phone screening. She'll talk to them, see if they're a good fit, and just their history a little bit. We pretty much don't really turn anyone away. I would say someone that might not be a good fit would be someone that has a higher level of mental health needs that we are not really equipped for, so that would be one reason that they may not qualify. But for the most part, if they're on the right medication, and we give them a chance.
Do you work with any of the rehabs in the area? Like, do they recommend a lot of people there, or other
Yes.
treatment facilities? Are you partners with any of the treatment facilities?
We have partnered with them in certain ways over the years. True partnership right now with any of the treatment centers is just referrals. They'll refer people to us. We'll refer people to them. We have received a grant this past fall from the Opioid Restitution Fund, which we're really proud of. That has allowed us to hire a peer. And we also have a partnership with a mother and children's house in our same county. So our peer will service that house as well. So we're able to share our peer through the grant with another sober living house for moms and kids.
So actually, one where the kids are allowed to stay there with the moms.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Along with the lady I was telling you about, with the one with the pets, I think the kids and pets tend to keep people out of recovery and out of chances, really, because nobody wants the extra stuff with them. They want the addicts want them. The addicts want it to help, and most houses won't let you. Did we freeze? I think we froze. Wendy is frozen. hmm Wendy? Having technical difficulties, and she drops for some reason. Well, we're going to pause, see if we can get her back here. Hold on. We're just going to pause for a quick second. She's back. Okay. Wendy, are you still there? She's back.
What happened? That was
Me either. That was technical difficulties.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
exactly.
We're back.
Everything was quiet. So sorry. Yeah. So we partner with a mother and children's house called Lily's House in our county. And we're really excited about that. We have a couple other programs. We have what's called ABC, After Baby Care. So new moms in recovery get like a postpartum care package, which provides them with like a mini baby shower. And then we also do Project Family Christmas Kids, and that's happening this year, every year actually, where we provide the women in our houses that have children and our partnering sober living house with gifts for Christmas for their kids, and they get something that they want, need, wear, and read. And we've been doing that since our very first year.
Do you do anything with Angel Tree? I know that's a big program for kids.
No, we haven't. We pretty much do the Christmas Kids, and then we have the ABC that we.
So walk me through the screening process of, let's say I'm just somebody, can anybody apply, or a phone screen, or walk me through the screening process and what type of questions do you ask?
I guess your drug of choice, how long have you been in recovery? Have you been in recovery before? Do you have any children? What medications do you take? I don't typically do the screenings, the program director does, but we have a predetermined list of questions that are asked. And, like I said, you have to be pretty unwilling to follow the rules not to be accepted. But we also do have a wait list often because the women stay for quite a long time. So
what's the average stay?
Anywhere, I would say 3 months to a year, depending on the
Wow.
person. Yeah.
That's giving them quite a chance. That's awesome. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Especially for geared towards long-term recovery. That's awesome.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it takes a couple years to really get it all, worked out.
But being
Allow.
able to be stable for up to a year, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's see. What other questions do I got for you? That's off the top of my head. I just do this, I
Yeah.
like talking to people that
Anything.
have something to give back to the community, especially when it comes to giving hope to everybody. What are some of the things that you want somebody to be aware of, whether it be with addiction, recovery, or anything else?
I always say to the families to educate yourself, so you can, you might not be able to help your loved one, but it's your responsibility to understand what they're going through. So educating yourself that it is a disease. I truly believe that. And that it takes time. It takes time for them to get their life back. Just because they go to rehab or just because they're living in sober living doesn't mean that they're not going to struggle. They're not going to have difficult days, and giving them that support is really important. Like I said, being in the family and going through something like that where, anger or not understanding doesn't really help them very much.
What kind of support are we talking? Like, I know there's a difference between support and enabling, and where do you draw that line
For the residents?
for just the addict? It's in general.
Well, I mean, there's a no use policy to live in our sober living house, obviously. So we start there. And I think the structure and, like I said, having evidence-based programming is very beneficial because, these are the rules and the rules are the rules. And if you follow the rules and you do the things that are suggested to you, it'll get easier. So that would be, enabling. We try not to do that, at all. We want them to go out and find a job on their own. We want them to find the sponsor themselves, pick a home group, do all of these things independently under the protection or the guidance of the program and our other women in the houses and our program director, like a protected sobriety, where you can come back and be safe and not, hopefully have as many triggers as you would have if you went home or, had to start fresh.
That's awesome. I think that everybody needs that chance, especially recovering addict, because let's be real, a lot of times it's forced recovery, whether it be prison or I should say forced abstinence, because
Right.
It really isn't recovery. It's prison, detox, whatever the case may be. And then you go right back out onto the street and it does nobody any good.
Right.
So
Well,
I think
and that's going to happen too. We've had women that have been with us and then they chose to leave. And then they've asked to come back and we let them come back. So, it's not a one-stop shop for recovery. It's really based on the individual.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you want maybe the person that's thinking about that sober living, going into sober living? What are some of the things that you, or the family of somebody that's suggesting to their kid that, hey, maybe you should go here? What are some of the things that you would say to them?
Oh, wow. Don't enable them. If let them figure it out on their own, which is hard for family members to do because we want to kind of control and kind of guide them. But I think that the sooner you let go and you let them figure it out themselves, I think the faster, not always, I'm going to say in 100%, but they can figure it out on their own. If you take away some of the enabling, and I don't like to use the word rock bottom anymore because I don't feel like you have to hit rock bottom in order to
You
find.
don't. You just have to have a reason to want to change.
Yes, exactly. So just, be there, love them where they're at, and be there when they're ready.
The thing about rock bottom is you don't have to hit a rock bottom. It just has to be some type of life-changing event. It doesn't even have to be rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, rock bottom ain't rock bottom. My rock bottom would not be somebody else's. And So it just has to get your attention enough to make you want to change. That's it.
Right.
And
I feel like sometimes women, well, and I don't know, I can't speak for everyone in recovery, but the women that I've experienced, that there's a lot of trauma behind.
For most women, I 100% agree with that. Whether it be as a kid, as growing up, as whatever, I 100% agree.
Right. It's like the trauma prior to the addiction, the trauma during the addiction, and then, then you've got to figure out how to heal yourself after, which is, it's very complicated. So we have workshops. We incorporate the 8 dimensions of wellness into our program, which is kind of new for us, but we kind of realized that just coming and living in sober living and expecting you to have like change inside, you can do your chores, you can find a job, you can get your license back, you can do all of these things, but if you don't change who you are and learn who you are, you're not going to change. So you need to learn.
Yeah, the thing about recovery is it's not recovering from alcohol and drugs, it's recovering the feelings again. It's and being able to cope with it the best way possible. I'll be honest, I think addiction's a side effect of whatever we're going through to make us numb. I say this about all the time. Addiction is 100% a side effect, whether it be a side effect from coping, a side effect from fitting in, a side effect from trauma. It's a side effect.
Yeah.
And once we deal with that main problem, then
from bullying to abuse to just, having anxiety.
Life in general.
Yep. And I think we underestimate the power of what people go through, and we're no longer living in a world where we're saying, oh, just get over it. You need to kind of learn how to heal from it, no matter what level of trauma that is.
I agree 100%. And I'm going to ask you probably my last question. Okay. I don't know yet. It might be the last one.
I'm here, whatever you need.
Whatever. What is one thing that you want everybody to take away from this conversation? I was going to say argument, but I'm like, we haven't even argued. So dang it.
I think people need to understand that addiction is a disease. It's a human disease, and the people, they are just that. They're human beings that need to be loved just like anyone else. Giving some. This is kind of what my mantra has kind of turned into lately. I think that healing begins with safe housing, because if you're not safe in your home, wherever that home is, you're not going to start to heal. And so coming into sober living, which isn't for everyone, it's very scary coming to live with a group of people that you don't know, and you're trying to figure out who you are again and understand all the feelings that you're having is definitely not an easy thing to do. But I also know that if you do not have a safe place to live, your chances of healing is a lot harder.
I 100% agree with that. And I think, you know what? I want to invite you back here sometime just to talk about what it takes to open a sober living house.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And because I don't know if you've ever heard the Vandenberg or something or other group. They're up there, like Massachusetts. Okay. They're kind of like the other big name companies. I mean, there's so many big name sober living places that own so many houses across the country that I think a lot of people that are interested in it get confused.
Okay.
Because there's so much like processes and licenses and certifications or whatever you need to get, that I think a lot of people struggle with what's real and what's not, like who and what and how hard is it. And I would love to invite you back just to talk about the processes of opening a sober living.
Okay. Yeah, we are not a big corporation. We're a, grassroots nonprofit that basically decided I decided to do it for my sanity so I could kind of help my daughter find better resources. And in the process, I just, brought in like-minded individuals, whether they're in recovery or they had family members who like passed away like my daughter, or, found recovery. And I felt like this group of people was just the perfect group or team to make these things happen. And I have a really strong board of directors who help us. And, nonprofit is a business just like anyone else. And I'm just going to do a little plug here. If you want to donate, you can go to rageagainstaddiction.org because it is very expensive. It's expensive to run any household. Now you have, 8 women living together, 7 women living together. And, we have to keep the lights on for them because we provide all of their basic needs. We provide cleaning supplies. They do feed themselves once they get a job, but they will make sure that they get their SNAP benefits and anything that they need. We want to make sure we have clothing donations. Now we're doing these workshops. We had a workshop last month about healing your inner child, which was just like so, eye-opening to so many of them. And, again, it takes a village to run a nonprofit, and, our supporters are really important.
I think that's amazing and very commendable. I think that's one heck of a memory for your daughter. I think as bad as it is to say everything happens for a purpose, you wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that.
I know. I agree with that. And that's hard. It's hard
It is
because, why that was her purpose, I do not know. Why that purpose was, thrust upon me. But, we're in it to help as many people as we can. And, we're proving every day that people do recover. And,
absolutely. We all recover. We recover out loud so nobody else has to suffer in the silence. To let everybody else have hope, because all hope is hold on to the pain ends. That's it.
Yes.
Well, Wendy, I thank you for coming on here, taking time out of your day, probably your lunch hour. Go eat.
Oh, you're fine. Okay.
It's probably, I know it's like my lunch hour, but I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on here and talk to us.
I really appreciate it. Anytime you want to know anything, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. I've written some recovery workbooks that you can find on Amazon. You can find them on our website just for people who are just in that early stage of recovery and just like learning how to sit with themselves. We've also created a grief journal for people who have lost a loved one, and also a Christmas book because my daughter passed away on Christmas. So you can find all that on our website. And,
what's that website again?
RageAgainstAddiction.org.
RageAgainstAddiction.org. Check it out.
Yep.
Wendy, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
And I can't wait to have you on here again.
Yeah.
Because I think we will be.
Okay.
And
just reach out.
Everybody out there else, keep rocking your recovery. You're worth it.
You are.